Welcome back to PC-88 Paradise. This is your host, Mr. Jakes, and tonight I will be taking you on a journey into the unknown, a journey of ancient occult knowledge lost to the pages of time. I'm talking about the world of early 80s Japanese PC games. On this channel, I have often introduced you to the works of one Nihon Falcom, but tonight I'm going to take you back further into their history than ever before. Before Azteca, before even any of the other games I've covered on this channel, let me take you back to March 1984 for Demon's Ring, otherwise known by the Japanese title Mao no Yubiwa, which means the same thing, though even in Japan it's usually known as Demon's Ring. And since this game has no sound other than a few monotone beeps, please enjoy these various creepy tunes from Sorcerian and its add-on scenarios as the BGM throughout this video. While it was games like Sorcerian, as well as Xanadu and Ys, which would make Falcom famous for their unique brand of sword and sorcery RPGs, if we look back before that, we can see a game company desperately searching for an identity. They had already released 3 creepy adventure games heavily influenced by the game Mystery House on the Apple II. These titles were Horror House 1 and 2 and Monster House. So continuing with that trend, the company thought they would establish themselves as the occult horror game company, and thus Demon's Ring was born. The first game to be developed by a full team of in-house Falcom employees, and also the first game which would earn Falcom some minor recognition within the Japanese PC community. So let's take a look at Demon's Ring on the PC-88. As you can see on the box, it calls itself an occultic fantasy adventure, and the back brags a lot about the draw speed of the graphics, which was considered quite fast for the time. Inside, we have 2 floppy disks. My copy of the game is unfortunately missing the manual, though there are a couple of scans of it available online. The game actually has a very long story, which you wouldn't expect from a game where you start out in front of a crappy-looking boarded-up house. To sum it up, our main protagonist is an orphan named Dumulin, who finds out that he's a prince.
Hey, I'm a prince! I'm a prince!
But shortly after he was born, his country was destroyed by a demon king named Sauron. Wow, that's way too close to Sauron. He's now grown up, and after a long journey, he finds himself before an old house in a forest, which he believes is the entrance to Hell itself, the demon world ruled by Sauron. Wow, and here I thought this was just some game about a haunted house or something. Well, anyway, to start the game, I'm first going to change my PC-88 to the V1 graphic mode, and all the slowest settings possible, so we can accurately show how the game was intended to run on the PC-88 models available in 1984. And then I'll insert both discs and reset the system. Wahahaha! It's booting! It's booting! Wait a second, that looks a lot like what it does when it can't read the disc. But the game does eventually boot. The first thing it does is show off the first-person graphics, which will be featured later in the game. Then there's this cool animated flame before the title screen, which eventually has the flame again. Demon's Ring, an illustrated adventure game from Falcom Inc. Finally, it also shows the end boss, Sauron, as if to say he is waiting for you. And if for some reason you ever wanted an official t-shirt of this title sequence, this shop in Japan has you covered. I can kind of see how it says occultic on the title screen, but on the t-shirt it looks like it just says acutic, or a cutie. So we can press a key at any time here to start the game, and of course we're taken to the screen with that house. It says, you are standing before an old house. You can feel a terrifying amount of magic power emanating from inside. There's a sturdy door and a mailbox nearby. Naturally, this game is controlled by typing commands like look mailbox, but you can only use Japanese. And not only that, unlike Azteca where you can use Romaji input, here you have to use kana input, the antiquated Japanese keyboard input method that I've often mocked and complained about on this channel. Here I had no choice but to deal with it, and yeah, I feel like I got a lot better at it over the course of the game. Kana input is a skill that I should probably learn anyway, since it's inevitably going to be useful for other really old adventure games when I cover them on the channel. You can save the game anytime by typing save, and then selecting between 9 save slots. This time I actually used backup copies of both game discs while playing the game, since both discs are writable and I'm not sure which of the 2 discs it saves data to. But anyway, let's play through the game. You can take a letter out of the mailbox here and read it. It says, "Our mighty Lord Mentosa, hear my prayer." Their god is named Mentosa. It's like Mentosa, the fresh maker, or even Mendoza! Anyway, it says, "Lord, God, Mentosa, the impure ones have appeared and are tormenting the people with their curse. O omniscient and omnipotent Lord." Okay, whatever. Why was this prayer in a mailbox anyway? Does it have Mentosa's address on the envelope? I feel like we should probably get into this house as soon as we can, but there's no obvious way in. So first let's explore the surrounding area. We can move by typing the cardinal directions. To the east there's this road with a tree, and let's just be real here, I'm using a walkthrough to get through this infamously cruel game as painlessly as possible. So let's just go where we need to go. We'll move east 2 more times and then south to this tree with a bird's nest. Then type up to climb the tree. We can then see that there's a bird cage on top of the nest. Now, I want to know who the hell put this cage over the nest. Seems like an awfully cruel thing to do. But anyway, let's type take bird cage and take it off. Just what does this do, you ask? Is the bird going to come and save me later in the game as a reward? Actually, the cage needs to be used as an item later, so let's just hold on to it. But for now, let's get out of this tree and go south to see this sculpture of a demon guarding the road. You don't want to mess with this sculpture or you're going to be dead. So how do we get past? Type close eyes. There, now apparently it can't see me.
He thinks you can't see him because his eyes are covered.
Now we can just walk by. We end up at a dead end surrounded by cliffs where we can just grab this rope. Now let's go back to the sculpture. Apparently it doesn't try to kill you on the way back. Then back to the house, which we'll pass this time on the rear side, and then through a forest to the west. There we find a cliff with a dagger on it. It says the cliff looks like it could crumble at any moment, but we need this dagger, so let's pick it up. Good, this dagger seems important, so I'll go ahead and save my game here, and then go back to the east. Hey, what the hell? I was just following the walkthrough and now I'm dead? Okay, but anyway, this game over screen is how I figured out how to spell our hero's name, Dumulin. More like Dumulin, am I right? And this Latin here is apparently a common Roman epitaph for people who died away from home, which means one land covered him, another gave him birth. And I guess this game was not only made in 1984, but also takes place in 1984. Huh. But anyway, it says I can press space to return to the world of Demon's Ring. Do so when we're back at the beginning. I can type load to get where I last saved and try this again. Okay, now it worked. Want to know the reason why I died the first time? It's one of this game's most common tricks. You need to complete this screen within a certain number of moves. Use more than 2 moves and the cliff crumbles, and saving does count as a move. So I lost by making 3 moves, including the save. Luckily, the number of moves you've used resets when you load your game, so it worked the second time. But anyway, now we can move on. Let's pick up the steel rod here and then go back to the rear of the house. We can then pry this window further open using the steel rod and go inside. Finally, we're in the house. Ooh, creepy. It was nice of someone to light these candles for me.
I the candles on the shelf.
And beyond that, we find a room with a lamp in it. So let's take the lamp.
When I'm alone, I myself.
Next, we find some creepy stairs, but let's just go around them to the kitchen. What the hell, this kind of just looks like a normal kitchen. Are we still in the old house? That almost looks like a refrigerator, but I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be a refrigerator. Anyway, let's take that cheese on the table and go back to the staircase. Here we'll light the lamp before ascending. We'll find a sort of attic space with a ladder going down, and below that is a cave. Guess we're not in the house anymore. And there we find a demon. How exactly are we going to take care of him? Simple, just type defeat demon and it's done. Good thing I picked up that dagger earlier. It says, you cut the demon's throat and it dies. The body magically turns to ashes and blows away. Well, that was easy. Next, we find a fork in the road, and to the east, a big flame. How are we going to get past this flame? Just type splash water, and our hero douses the flame using the water flask he begins the game with. Now the flame is small enough to walk right past. Next, we find a mouse. Now, we're going to need to use this mouse later, so let's first put the cheese on the ground, and when the mouse begins to eat it, we can catch him in that bird cage that we picked up in the tree. Now we can head all the way back to that fork in the road, and this time go the other way. And here, my friends, is the true entrance to hell. It's a first-person maze, as we saw demonstrated in the opening. Now, this thing is pretty big. Have a look at the map. And to move, we can't just press the direction we want to go. Oh no, we've got to keep typing out the cardinal directions every time. This is gonna take a while. Anyway, let's fast forward, and 15 minutes later, we find ourselves in a church. All there is to do here is just grab this key, and then we have to go all the way back through the maze in order to get out. Damn, who built this church at the end of the maze? All I know is that we did all of this just to get a key. So we retrace our steps back to the beginning of the maze, and you're not going to believe this, but it won't let us out. The text says, "It was admirable of you to draw a map, but you can't get out of this maze so easily. The exit is closed." So this threw me for a loop, since the walkthrough I was using doesn't even mention anything about this. But after consulting with other sites, it turns out that you just need to wander around in the maze for a bit, and then the exit will open. Now, what exactly were they thinking here? Of course players were going to draw a map, so they're going to know the way straight back to the entrance. Why punish them for actually bothering to make a map for your maze? Shouldn't you be happy? And now you're going to scare the crap out of them by making them think that they need to figure something else out before they can leave. There's a reason why game designers don't do stuff like this anymore. But yeah, let's move on. We go all the way back to where the ladder was, and this time go south from there in order to pick up an item I didn't get earlier. So here let's let the mouse loose, and the snake will go chasing after it. Thanks for your help, little mouse buddy. I'll take my emerald now. East of there we find an old man. Who is this old man and what does he want? Well, he won't talk, but we'll give him some bread. Bread is another one of the items in your inventory when you start the game. In exchange, the old man gives you some magic dispelling medicine. Next, we come to this floodgate, which we can just pass by for now, and we come to a room with 3 alligator men. Now, our hero is pretty strong, but he can't take on 3 alligator men all at once. What we need to do is separate them so we can take them down one at a time. If we move over to the next room, only one will follow, and we can take him out. Rinse and repeat. Afterward, we can go down this ladder they were guarding and grab this wrench, and then use it to turn this bolt. Back at the floodgate, the water has stopped and we can go beyond until we get to a hole with a chain leading down it. If you use the chain, it will break when you try to climb back up, so we'll ignore the chain and use our rope to get down instead. At the bottom, there's a sword to collect. Retrace our steps to take a different direction from here, and we get to a room with a mirror. Touch the mirror, and we've found the entrance to the Demon King's room. Now that we have that sword, we can easily take both of these skeletons out at the same time. Next, to get rid of that devil on the door, throw the emerald. And to open the door, I use that key I went all the way through that maze in order to find. Inside, finally it's the Demon King, Sauron.
Sauron! Sauron!
Yes, feel it. You must believe in the power of Sauron.
How do we defeat the mighty end boss? Throw the medicine we got from the old man. Then simply type, defeat Demon King, and it says, the Demon King disappears. You have finally saved the world. And I guess that's the titular Demon's Ring right there. Pick it up and it will protect you in the next room. Without it, this black shadow will kill you. Anyway, move east from this room and it's over. We are shown a very fast red version of the first-person maze before the end screen with a castle and a rainbow. It says, congratulations, you finally finished the adventure. We are sure you've had a long journey filled with plenty of fun and hardships. Thanks for coming along with us. From all the staff, we give you a warm thank you. We're already developing an even more fun game right now, so look forward to it. And that's it, we're stuck on this end screen as the colors change and the text repeats. So while there's no credits in the game, they are listed at the end of the manual. The main author of the game and head of production was someone named Koichi Endo. I don't think he ever worked on any other games. On programming, we have Takaharu Matsushima and Susumu Taguchi, who both also worked on Azteca and Dragon Slayer 1. Graphics were done by Tadanobu Inoue, who would go on to have a long career in the gaming industry. He was originally a programmer by trade. I always find it funny how with these old adventure games, they never seem to think they needed to hire actual graphic designers. Oh, just draw some lines. As long as it looks like something, that's good enough. No one expects to see nice artwork in a computer game. Demon's Ring was ported to the Fujitsu FM7, and while the graphics look pretty much identical, this one transitions between screens even faster, with just a quick black screen between graphics. However, since this one is made to work with only one disk drive, you do have to do some disk switching in this version. There are also some weird minor changes I noticed. For instance, that letter in the mailbox at the beginning of the game isn't there in this version. According to magazine ads from the time, and Falcom's own 30th anniversary book, there was also a PC-88 version of Demon's Ring. However, it must be extremely rare since no photos of the disc or packaging seem to exist anywhere online, let alone footage of the game. But in any case, we can assume the graphics were identical to the other versions, and according to the magazine ads, it was just as fast as the FM7 version, running on an FM77. Similar to Azteca, Demon's Ring is an example of an early 1980s adventure game from Falcom, before they were the Falcom we would come to know. While the game may have been technically impressive for the time, it actually wasn't quite the only game that could boast such fast draw speeds when it was made. And while the game's theme may have been interesting for fans of spooky adventures or the occult, without a walkthrough, the adventure was often frustrating even when it wasn't being cryptic. The game may have gotten the company a bit of early recognition, but it was unfortunately not the hit that they would need in order to find true success. As for whether you should play the game for yourself today, why, hell no, don't play it. Not unless you maybe want to practice your Kana input skills for a few hours while discovering a lost Falcom game. But for most of you watching, I hope that this video was enough to satisfy your curiosity. So now that you've seen it, do you dare to reach for the Demon's Ring? Thanks for watching this special occultic episode of PC-88 Paradise to top off your spooky month. If you want to help the channel, I take donations in blood, or you can just join the boys and ghouls you see scrolling by on your screen. Don't be afraid, join us. Join us.